Do you remember that time when we marched in solidarity against Tony Blair taking us to war with Iraq? Do you remember that time when Tony Blair and George W. Bush were found guilty of crimes against peace, crimes against humanity, and genocide by a War Crimes Commission tribunal? Do you remember when they didn't get prosecuted? Do you remember that time that British soldiers were accused of smuggling heroin from Afghanistan back to Britain? On that note, why do we wear a poppy for Remembrance Day and not a ribbon? Do you remember around the time of Tony Blair's Honours for Cash scandal, the Sunday Times received Operation Oar's entire list of UK subscribers to child pornographic sites, containing over 7,000 names. These included at least 20 senior executives, a senior teacher in an exclusive girls' school, services personnel from at least 5 military bases, GPs, university academics and civil servants. Also, a famous newspaper columnist was named, a songwriter for a legendary pop band, and an official with the Church of England. This concluded in 1,837 convictions. Did you know Blair government at this time issued a D-notice to gag the press from revealing known paedophiles within the establishment? Do you remember that time when Philip Lyon, Tony Blair's closest confidant, was found guilty of downloading thousands of images of child sex abuse and sentenced to 1 year in prison? Do you remember that time when David Cameron's aide, Patrick Rock, was convicted of making and possessing indecent images of children? Do you remember that time when police were blocked from charging former Labour MP Tom Drabery with sexually abusing boys by the Director of Public Prosecution, Sir Norman Skelhorn? Sir Norman Skelhorn also blocked attempts to prosecute Liberal MP Cyril Smith and the Conservative MP Victor Montague for the sexual abuse of boys. Do you remember Tory MPs Michael Powell, Roger Talboys, Harvey Proctor, Christopher Pilkington, Peter Stidworthy, Chris Morgan, Douglas Campbell and Robert Richdale? And Labour's Martin Lachlan, David Spooner, Nicholas Green, Mark Tan, Mark Trotter, George Harding, Liam Temple, Stuart Brown, Sam Chowdhury, Keith Potts and Alan Prescott. And Lib Dems Justin Silman, Francis Butler, Neil Derbyshire and Bill Chadwick. Whatever happened to all of them? Do you remember that guy that liked to fix things? Do you remember how the BBC and authorities covered up his child abuse for decades? Do you remember the things he did? Do you remember the people he was connected to? Do you remember Elm Guest House? What allegedly happened there and who was on the guest list? Do you remember the police investigation? Do you remember Jeffrey Dickens' lost dossier and the further 114 missing documents that Mark Sedwell couldn't find? And if you don't know who Mark Sedwell is, you really should. Do you remember the people speaking out about a likely cover-up? Top of the Elm Guesthouse list was Sir Anthony Blunt, former MI5 and friend of Lord Victor Rothschild. Sir Anthony Blunt blocked police investigations into activities involving Jimmy Savile. He is also believed to be a procurer of men and young lads and is said to be involved in snuff killings of boys. Do you remember ex-Prime Minister Edward Heath? He would regularly take boys from certain care homes away on his boat for weekends, and he was seriously warned 4 times by police for hanging around public toilets. He also has a mountain of allegations against him and his predatory behaviour. Do you remember Margaret Thatcher? Remember how she surrounded herself with child predators and actively covered up child abuse? Remember that time when MP Tom Watson stood up at Prime Minister's Question Time, stating that there was
clear intelligence suggesting a powerful paedophile network linked to Parliament and Number 10?
Remember Operation Yewtree, which came from that? Remember how they started investigating politicians and ended up arresting a number of 70s entertainers? Do you remember the Dunblane Massacre on 13th of March 1996, carried out by Thomas Hamilton, a known Freemason and known paedophile? Hamilton was also said to have good relations with Lord George Robertson, ex-UK Defence Secretary and Secretary-General of NATO, and Michael Forsyth, ex-Scottish Secretary of State and MP. And he was also known to have exchanged letters with the Queen. Large sections of the police report have been banned from public domain, and parts are omitted and censored from the final report. Seems they might be hiding something. Do you remember that time when 2 children in Hampstead Heath made allegations of satanic ritual abuse against their father, a Hollywood actor, and prominent members of the community, including teachers at their school and members of the church. The police investigation and court hearing found the mother and the partner to be guilty of making false allegations and coaching the children to say them. 74-year-old Sabine McNeil, who was helping the mother as part of a family court assistance group during the case, was arrested for making false allegations against members of the Hampstead community. She was branded Britain's worst troll by the media and received 9 years imprisonment. The 3 medical reports for this case were heavily misrepresented by police and undoubtedly show abuse to the children matching their claims. If you could find the video, maybe you could judge for yourself whether they're acting or not. Good luck. Do you remember the Holly Gregg case? Remember how the police only interviewed 2 of the 22 alleged abusers? Remember how the abusers became the victims? Remember how Robert Greene, a peaceful campaigner for Holly, was painted as a criminal and was convicted of making false allegations and then held for longer than his sentence? Remember how the medical reports revealed abuse matching her claims? Do you remember Maggie Oliver and why she resigned from her detective role? Do you remember that time when Gordon Brown and the British establishment stepped into the Madeleine McCann case? Did the Portuguese police ever finish their investigation? Do you remember Robert Maxwell's book, which alleged that Gordon Brown was close to several rent boys and Sarah Macaulay was paid £50,000 to marry him and stay the course? You know, this is Robert Maxwell, the father of Ghislaine Maxwell, who still hasn't been investigated for the Epstein case and is thought to be the brains behind the child rape and trafficking ring. Well, it certainly wasn't this guy.
I have a peculiar medical condition, which is that I don't sweat, or I didn't sweat at the time.
So, do you remember now?